Distributive property and simplifying decimal equations. Now I told you this back, I don't know if it was lesson 25, where we would get to do this and you won't have to do terrible decimals anymore. So, all that to be said, let's talk about distributive property. Now if you remember, the distributive property means you can take what's on the outside to expand and multiply it by every term on the inside. So this would be, here's what it would look like. You would do 4p times x plus 4p times 3y. So that's what you're doing. And then you'd simplify it. I always kind of simplify it as I go, but this is showing you how we do it. So 4px, you would just leave it like that. You can't really multiply anyone. But the 4 and the 3 here can actually multiply together because they're both coefficients. So we're going to just add 12 plus 12 py is how that would be expanded. And notice these are not like terms, so it's got to be left like this. That's the answer. So let's try it with something more complicated. Use the distributive property to expand. So we're going to multiply this times this and this times this. And I will do the slow step-by-step way, and then maybe you guys can not show all your steps anymore. So we'll do it with training wheels is what I'm saying. Here we are, we're going to multiply xy times y squared. And then xy, but I'm going to write, plus xy times negative x squared z. Now I crossed my z because they often look like 2's, and that can be very confusing. So if we multiply now, if we simplify this, remember when you multiply exponents, or multiply the same base, we add exponents. Well, y to the first power times y to the second power is y cubed, so it simplifies to xy cubed. And then this one is a negative, and we put those x's together. There now are x cubed, because we have 1 plus 2, y, and z. And that is expanded. This is training wheels. Usually I don't use this step. Usually I do it all in my head. So if I were to look at this, I'd go, okay, it's xy cubed, would I multiply that together? And then when I put those together, I go, okay, I got 3 x's, a y, and a z with a minus sign. And then I don't need to show all that. So let's see how you do with that. Let's look at this one. I'll even do it over here instead of bringing it over there. So I'm looking at this, and I know I have a 4, and then I'm going to have an x to the 5th, because 1 plus 4, and a y to the 4th. So 4, x to the 5th, y to the 4th. And then minus. And now I've got these two. Well, I'm going to multiply the 4 and the 5, so minus 20. And then I have an x and an x, so x squared, y cubed. And that is expanded. Alright. This one I don't like having what we're distributing by on the outside, so I like to rewrite it as, I'm going to rewrite it over here, 2x squared y times the quantity ay minus 4y to the 5th. And then expand it from here. Okay, so I'm going to look and I go, okay, I'm going to have a 2 and x squared, or 2 and a, an x squared, and a y squared. So 2a x squared y squared. And then I'm going to have minus 8. And then I've got just x squared, y to the 6th, because 5 plus 1 is 6. And we are done. Okay, I'm going to do some more. use the distribute. Oh, it's going to get bigger, more complicated, right? So now we've got 8 times 5, which is 40. I have 5 m's and 2 x's. And then so I got 3 terms, okay. Minus 3 times 8 is 24. M squared x to the 6th. And then 8 times 2 plus 16. And we've got that m squared and then the x squared. So we've got 3 terms. And yes, that is the answer. Expanding means just that. It's even makes it longer. All right, switch gears. That was distributive. Now this is the shortcut for decimals. When we have decimals in an equation, I like to get rid of them. And so what we can do is, remember, we can multiply. Back when we talked about you have to multiply every term on each side. And I had us underline it. Meaning, I want to multiply everybody in here by 100. And you'll see why. So I'm going to multiply every term times 100. I'm going to show it, just so you know what I'm saying. 100 times. Everybody multiplies by 100. 100, 100, 100. Okay? All right, 100 times 0.4 means the decimal moves over twice. So we get 40. 100 times 0.02 gives us 2m. 100 times 4.6 is 460. Now, compare this to this. Which one looks more fun to solve? Or at least bad? I would much rather deal with this than having to worry about lining up decimals. So that is why, in order to get rid of all the decimals, I took the one that had the most in the decimal, so it was going to take 100 to get rid of this one. This one only would have taken 10, but... So now we subtract 40 from both sides, or add negative 40, same thing. And we get that, divide, and I'm running out of room, but m equals 420 divided by 2 is 210. There we go. Now, as we did before with when we were solving equations, we did go through and check. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I don't have my nice looking paper, so I'm just going to have to use one of these. So we're going to check and try it up here. Alright, now you may not enjoy this, but I love to find out if we have the exact right answer. So this is enjoyable, knowing that you're going to be successful if this works out. So first we're going to have to do 210 times 0.02. Now what I like to do is just think 210 times 2 is 420. So I'm going to write 420, but I have 2 decimal places. So 420 with 2 decimal places would be 4.20 or 4.2. And so now let's go ahead and see if this works. 4.2 plus 0.4 is, yes, 4.6 does equal. And so we can say true. And because I have room, when it's true and I'm happy I solved my problem, self-esteem rises and a happy face occurs. 27.6, the next example. Again, let's get out of decimals. Let's not struggle through those and try and line them up. Let's get rid of them. Now I see this one here is the furthest behind the decimal point. So I think, all right, it's got to move 3 times. So that means I have to multiply everybody by 1,000. Now I could write it out like this, but I'm going to just do it in my head and be very careful. So this times 1,000 would be 2K. This one times 1,000, 1, 2, 3, is going to be 20. This one times 1,000, 1, 2, 3, is going to be 4,020. Next, we subtract our 20, so we get 2K equals 4,000. That was kind of nice, wasn't it? Because dividing 4,000 by 2 is kind of a gift. It's 2,000. Now, it's weird that you would have decimals, I think, such a decimal equation and end up with such a large number as the solution. So that's why it's always nice to check our work and make sure everything's legit. So I'm going to go back up to that and plug in 2,000. And make sure I don't fall off the page. All right, this obviously 2,000 times 2. We're going to get 4,000, right? 2,000 times 2 is 4,000. And we have 1, 2, 3 behind the decimal. So I'm going to go ahead and put the decimal right there. So it's really just 4 when we multiply those two. Plus 0.02 equal 4.02. Well, yes it does, doesn't it? So even though we were using decimals, a 2,004, the answer is not incorrect. It is correct. Go ahead and do your practice now, and then turn this back on if you need it, and I will finish it off as well. All right, expanding. I truly do enjoy these. I don't know if it just comforts me or it's just nice and systematic. All right, there's our final answer there. And I'm going to multiply this by these guys. So I still recommend this until you become super confident and a master. I recommend moving this to the front. So that is 2x squared y squared minus 2x squared y. Next. This multiplies and we get 3xp to the 8th minus 3x cubed p to the 11th. That's a third here, x cubed, in case you couldn't read my writing. All right, this one, 2x squared m to the 4th minus 8x squared m to the 3rd, or cubed. That's a squared, my 2. 2x squared m to the 4th minus 8x squared m to the 3rd. All right, now I'm going to multiply these through by a multiple of 10. So I see I want to move at least 2 decimals, so I'm going to multiply by 100. And that's much more appealing. And then divide by 8. Now I don't know, but I do see that 8 goes into 16 twice and 8 itself once. So I'm guessing this is 210. Let me just check. 210 times 8. Yes. Okay. So x equals 210. Now I'm going to go ahead and check that. Now I already did 8 times 210, so 0.08. If I stuck that here, would just be 2 decimals over. 1, 2. So So it's going to be 16.8 minus 0.1. Does that equal 16.7? Yes, it does. And I'm happy. So we know for sure we are solid with that answer. Last one. All right, so I noticed these are like terms, but I'm first going to get, and there's one thing behind the decimal for everybody. So let's multiply by 10. So we get 7m plus 6m equals 34. So 7 plus 6 is 13m equals 34. Now 13 does not go into 34 perfectly. So we get 34/13, and that, the book, you could leave like that, but I think the solution manual had 2. 13 goes into 34 twice, because it gets to 26 with 8/13. So the book has this. If you gave that, they're both good to go. We will see you next time.